Hello everyone, this is Hunter at Vapor Honing Technologies. Today we're going to be discussing why vapor honing is the only method of cleaning you should use on your turbo pieces. As you can see here, we have one very rusty turbo and one after vapor honing. Obviously we used a glass bead 170-325 on this turbo right here, and it looks amazing, but we're going to go over why this is such an effective process for parts like this. So the first reason that this process is incredibly effective for parts like this is because it has gentle and very non-abrasive forms of cleaning, so it's not very harsh when it cleans. The reason for this is because this process is done with flow rather than maybe a traditional sandblaster where the process is done with more of an impact clean. So the water is going to create a cushion on the surface of the parts so that it keeps the integrity of the piece. As you can see here, this part looks better than probably new. It keeps the integrity of the part. It gives you a very highly effective finish and elevated finish, as you can see with this piece here. It also reduces friction, abrasive being stuck in your surfaces, warping, which can all be critical when you're doing a rebuild. So that's why reason number one is such an important reason for using a wet blast process for doing these kinds of parts. So reason number two is it prevents surface damages. Now on turbo pieces in particular, you have a lot of sensitive surfaces with them. So that's why this process is very, very good for these types of pieces, because with sensitive parts of your pieces, it's going to be very gentle in its cleaning. It's not going to eat away tolerances. It's not going to eat away metal. Again, we went over how it doesn't embed in the metal or warp pieces or just ruin the integrity of the part overall. So that's reason number two why it is such an advantage. So reason number two that vapor honing is the only way you should clean turbo parts is because of the precise tolerances that are specifically on turbo pieces. It does not damage the surface of those parts of the piece in any way. And if you do use a more aggressive cleaning process like a dry blast process, it could eat away tolerance or change tolerances rather on your parts. So what that means is that it will affect the performance of the turbo when it is back in use. So that is another reason why vapor honing is such an advantage when it comes to turbo pieces. So another huge benefit you get out of vapor honing a turbo component is that the oil and carbon buildup is so effortlessly and easily removed. With the water, it is washing away the oils, the greases, the grimes, the carbon buildup, and the media is just doing the secondhand job for tougher contaminants that are maybe stuck to the surface. But since it's done with a flow process rather than an impact, it's never going to change your surface tolerances. So that is why vapor honing is so good at cleaning these parts, because it's a lot gentler and it can actually remove carbon buildup, oils, greases, stuff like that a lot faster than other processes and more effortlessly than other processes out there. So the fourth reason is the cooling effect that the water has on the vapor honing process. With the vapor honing process, obviously you have water involved. With water involved, you're not going to have the heat friction. Parts like this are very sensitive and very critical pieces to an engine. So if you have a cooling effect with this process, you're not going to risk like warping because of the heat or damages because of the heat, which in turn will save the parts in the long run. Reason number five is corrosion prevention and surface protection. So with vapor honing, what you're going to see is that the water actually helps in a way to prevent any kind of oxidation or corrosion buildup. We also have a corrosion inhibitor for cast parts or parts that will flash rust like this when water is introduced. That is purely water-based. It will not affect the final finish, but it will completely absolve any chance of corrosion building back on the part. But also the reason that it's a lot more efficient and it reduces oxidation is because the abrasive, which in this case is glass bead, it's round. So whenever you're hitting the surface with glass bead, it's actually going to roll the surface and close the pores on the surface of the metal, which allows your parts to stay cleaner for longer and make them easier to clean when you need to break it back down and clean it again. So it's just really a huge advantage to have something that closes the pores instead of opening the pores because of that factor. So reason number six is enhanced enhanced surface finish for improved performance. Now, we don't really hear this advantage a lot, so it's important to speak about it. Smoother surface finishes can actually enhance the performance of turbo pieces, so that's super important for performance enthusiasts. But also, you have the fact that it reduces friction and can contribute to slightly better air and fluid flow throughout the turbo. So that is an advantage we don't really hear a lot, so it's super important to highlight that and make sure that everybody understands that. Another key point about the vapor honing process, specifically on turbo parts, is that you're not going to be able to achieve this level of finish in this short of a turnaround with any other process out there. That is what elevates this process, specifically for turbo pieces, to the top of other processes out there, and that's why it's such a huge advantage amongst the other advantages for turbo pieces specifically that we highlighted. And that is why, in summary, vapor honing can definitely be a huge advantage to have and be the only way you need to clean turbo parts. If you have any questions about this, please give us a call. Our number here is 828-202-5563.